Recording. Anybody else that wants to record this call can record this call. My name is Fearless Floyd Pleasant Tarvin IV. I host a social media platform on probably every platform you can think of called the Fearless Floyd Show. I brought this meeting together to present multiple people with regards to Anna von Reitz. Anna von Reitz's Federation of States, the multiple existing and non-functional and dysfunctional states assemblies under the Federation of States, as well as Anna's new fake bank. I'll get into that in a minute. Some of you know who I am, some of you don't know who I am. I've come a long way from who I used to be. I'm a reformed bad boy. I'm 21 years sober. All I try to do is benefit humanity every day. If I can save one person falling in a trap, no matter what that trap looks like, they're doing some process, W4 process, straw man process, SBC process, getting involved with an assembly, getting scammed by Anna, buying license plates from David Lester Straight, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If I can save one person and prevent that from happening, then I've done my job for humanity. And that's my goal every day when I wake up, just that one person, somebody sending me a thank you, man, you saved me, you know, I didn't do this, or, you know, I didn't do that, or whatever. Y'all can look me up, go watch my YouTube channels. I'm probably the most transparent person on YouTube. You know, I gave out my cell phone number today twice on my noon live show. You know, who else is doing that on YouTube? Nobody. Fearless Floyd, most of you know, I earned that in prison. That was given to me by my cellie, Michael Wayman Williams, because all the things that I was doing, he said, Floyd, they're going to make you disappear, man. You're fearless. I'm going to start calling you Fearless Floyd. That's how I got it. So I earned that. And it's tattooed on my upper back. And you don't wear something that says fearless in Texas prisons without being able to back it up. Been there, I've done it. Been under investigation by the alphabet agencies. Most of you know the story. You can go watch my videos. I talk about it all the time. I'm very open and transparent about who I am, what I know, and my experiences. And I try to prevent people from wasting their time, money, and energy, whatever that looks like. So I brought this meeting together because in 2020, I was outside of a Lowe's and saw a license plate on a truck that said American State National. And I looked in Lowe's and I went, man, I'm never going to find this guy. So I'm going to have to sit here and wait. So I waited. I met Julian Marquez. He introduced me to the Texas State Assembly. I had no idea who Anna von Reitz was. Not a clue. Didn't even care. Got involved with the assembly. Lady you see on the screen, Kim Reynolds, she was the state coordinator of the Texas State Assembly at that time. I got in, listened to some meetings, eventually got papered up December 26th, 2020 by Derek Gascon, who was invited to this Zoom as well. Sorry. Anyway, I got papered up by Derek Gascon. So after that, I started participating. I listened, and I listened very carefully because I had to train myself because I was a writ writer, jailhouse lawyer in prison. And when I sat down to hear somebody tell me their story, or after I read their record, start asking pertinent questions specific about how I was going to strategy to attack the case. So I taught myself to listen very well. And I listened to who all the movers and shakers and wallflowers and fakers were. And I knew who was on a power trip, an ego trip, and all that, and who really had the goods and who didn't, and who was motivated and who wasn't. So I decided I was going to, be a little bit more vocal, and eventually I worked my way up to where everybody, learned and respected. Hey, this guy has a legal background. He knows what he's talking about. It seems pretty smart and intelligent. They eventually elected me justice of the Texas State Assembly. Upon being elected to that position, I decided, okay, how much authority do I really have as this justice of some assembly? And I started doing my research. That research led me into the discovery of the Colorado Nine, Bruce Davidson, who still is in Colorado State Penitentiary with a 38-year sentence for being elected a justice under Anna and going into a court and serving warrants on all the court personnel. They didn't take that kindly, as you can tell. And to this day, never once have I heard Anna on any of her media platforms ever once solicit for commissary money or for legal defense fund or appellate fund for any one of the Colorado 9. Abandoned. And that's how Anna rolls. So when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, what am I in? Okay, I'm glad I just didn't just take off by the seat of my pants and not do my research. So I did some more research and I was like, well, who the hell is Anna? Okay, I started listening to her, paying attention to her webinars, going back, listening, reading all her material. And I'm like, okay, awesome historian, great orator. I give her 2 thumbs up, man, more power to her. She's got that nailed. Running a cult, 2 thumbs up, got that nailed. To connect the dots for Anna real quick for you guys, I have a business, a Truth Finder background report on her and her husband, James C. Belcher, James Clinton Belcher. She's registered agent for Planned Parenthood Fund, LLC in New York, New York. Any of you actually understand Planned Parenthood, you know who the creator and operator was. And that was William Gates's, Bill Gates of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, Bill's parents. Father was the founder, the mother ran the organization. Anna von Reitz is the registered agent for that.
Floyd, I've also seen
those
this.
dots, you're more than welcome to connect them. I did.
Hey, Floyd, I've also
There's
seen the
smoke,
paperwork.
there'll be fire. That's all I can tell you. She is admitted in her own book, her own postings on her website. She kisses the ring of the Vatican. She has a blood oath with the Pope. I'm not making any of this up. These are her own words. You can go look it up. You can go listen to her webinar when people were, her donators were complaining about the way she was spending her donations. I'm paraphrasing, but this is what she said. All y'all complaining about how I spend your donations, I'll spend it any way I want. You can all go to hell. Absolutely, that woman said that. That's how much she cares about her membership. Now, any one of you, I beg, anybody, please show me who the Federation of States is. Who are the members of the Federation? Is it Anna and James? Harold Hines? Is it this new guy, Hunter Aki, this banker, fake banker guy? Who exactly are these people? The other one, Lorelei, whatever she was, that's a 100% alias name. She is a ghost. You cannot find her anywhere. I don't know what her real name is. She keeps the like mingling around. Now, I've invited some people here from Utah, Oregon, Texas, Tennessee, Utah.
See you guys.
Sorry about that. All together, along with the Seeds of Wisdom team. The reason I brought this meeting together is I've been on a personal mission going through all that. Once I found out all that information about the assembly and Anna von Reitz, I stepped down a week later. I was like, man, this is nothing I want to be involved with. However, at that time, unbeknownst to me, Eric Dingus was running his own parallel investigation into Anna. For those of you who don't know, Eric Dingus was Anna von Reitz's hand-picked, appointed peacekeeping task force officer who traveled all across the United States, surfing people's couches, beds, rooms, cots, backyards, however he had to live, trying to help the people out across the country that were in the different assemblies. I can let you tell his stories, and he's gone here, and that's why he's here, to tell his story, his side of it. But anyway, in this parallel investigation, he was starting to see the same things I were. So I'm back channeling Kim Reynolds. He's back channeling Kim Reynolds. Kim Reynolds is back channeling Anna von Reitz. Okay, I'll let you tell their sides of their story, what that looked like, because I wasn't privy to that conversation, but it existed. So we came to the conclusion, the movers and the shakers and the TSA, that we need to have a private backdoor closed meeting that nobody knows about. So we all arranged to meet in Dripping Springs, Texas, in a small little country chapel that one of our gracious hosts is on this Zoom right now. And we all met, sat down at a big table, and We all laid it out one by one. We all came to the determination that, this is probably something that we don't want to be involved in. We really don't need Anna von Reitz to move forward. We don't even need the Texas State Assembly. There was a lot of power struggle already, a lot of animosity, a lot of egotism when we were there. And when I left, I immediately left right after we left Dripping Springs. That was enough for me. Done. Heard enough. I tried to take some people with me in the Texas State Assembly and continue to educate them on how to continue down the road to privacy. That eventually fizzled out. I think a lot of people lost their momentum and their energy and their gumption to continue with the assemblies. That's why you see a lot of people, they just disappear because they don't want anything to do with it anymore. They were tarred and feathered, castigated by people that they thought they were peers and their friends, and they weren't. All through baseless accusations made by Anna von Reitz. That's how she works. So there's many people out there just like yourself who they're no longer interested in anything that says assembly or National Assembly or American State National or anything like that. They're burnt, they're fried, and they don't want anything to do with it. Like I told you, it's my goal to take down Anna von Reitz. She has been on my radar for over 2 years. I have probably at least 6, 7, 8 videos, all on Anna von Reitz. She dedicated her December 27th, 2021 Monday night webinar, all to me, rebutting everything I said. Totally 100% threw her daughter under the bus, called her a prostitute, drug addict, worthless mother, blamed everything on the public educational system that made her daughter the way she was. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Really? You threw your daughter under the bus and now you're going to blame the public education system for the way she turned out because you're her mom? Really? All this is on the record, documented fact of Anna von Reitz. I swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. At all times, I walk with honor, clean hands, and good faith. That's how I operate. If I don't have the answer, I don't know is my answer. I'm smart enough to surround myself by people that are more intelligent than I am. If I'm the smartest guy in the room, I'm in the wrong room. I need to go get in another room. I need to meet some new people. That's how I operate. I'm always constantly learning, always constantly doing things. Always. When I tell you I'm doing 10 things at once, boom, right here. Here's a stack of books that I told you I'm publishing. These are Ann's books on trust. I'm a publisher now. A whole stack of them. I'm doing a million things, but I'm pulled to this. I want to expose these people who are ripping, the members of this community. And there's a lot of different members of what this looks like. You have people trying to get on the private side. You have the QAnons, the MAGA movement. You have the nationals over here. And I'm trying to bring all these people together in harmony. We have the RV people over here with Seeds of Wisdom team. Now, I'm fixing to make your eyes pop, your jaws drop, shatter your being, okay? This is the scenario. Anna von Reitz. All those people over there in the Seeds of Wisdom team. Well, they've got Bob Locke, who's their trust guru. Trust, what an evil word that is. Let me invite Bob up to my house and show him my good graces and take him under my wing. And that way I'll have access to 100 plus people who are sitting on dinar, dong, bolivar, dollars, real, rupiah, all of that currency that they're fixing to become multimillionaires, multi-billionaires. And who are they going to put their trust in? Oh, yeah, Bob Locke, the guy who set up our trust, or we need to have set up our trust. And who's he going to recommend for our bank? His buddy, Anna von Reitz. Is everybody awake now? That's a scary thought. I want y'all to take that all to heart. Everybody who's going to watch this recording is being recorded. I'm going to send it out to other people. Everybody who's watching this, You will get a recording of this. Please hit me up. I'll send it to you, no problem, through Telegram. I'm not going to send it through email. Going through Telegram. And I want you to send it to God and everybody. I want you to send it to all the Seeds of Wisdom team, members, everything. If you'd like to see the proof, I can do a share screen right now and I can run through the truth finder for Anna Von Reitz and James C. Belcher if y'all want to see it. Y'all want me to send it to you, I will email it to you. You could always at any time reach me at the Fearless Floyd Show at yahoo.com. I'm on Telegram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, you name it. I'm there. I'm easy to get a hold of. My phone number, my cell phone right here, this phone, I carry at all times. 346-971-6999. 346-971-6999. It is my mission in life, my goal to take down Anna Von Reitz and remove her from this whole entire movement, hopefully get her incarcerated and locked up for the rest of her life, where she cannot prey upon the emotions, desperations of people that are really good at heart, who are looking to have a better life, and some of them are looking to better humanity. And they're getting disillusioned, beat down. They're getting their property taken away from them. Perfect example, Terry Psalms, right-hand woman for Anna Von Reitz.
Attention.
Yeah. Hang on before you proceed. As you
Sorry.
I'm going to bring most of you on to talk. We'll go ahead and we'll do Eric, because you were the peacekeeping task force officers that I have you on. We'll do Kim Reynolds next, because she is the state coordinator. So that will triangulate the story of the back channeling between Eric's parallel investigation and Kim's own back channeling to Anna Von Reitz. So Eric, introduce yourself and tell everybody who you are, who you are. You know the deal. So Eric, I digress, and it's your floor. Go ahead.
Sure. Thank you, Floyd. Yes, my name is Eric Dingus. I used to be the coordinator for the peacekeeping task force for the American States Assemblies. And as Floyd so graciously explained to everybody, I was working a parallel investigation to what he was doing. Of course, we didn't know that this was going on at the time until sometime later. But what I was hoping to bring to light, when I rudely interrupted, I apologize, Floyd. So she wrote a book. It's called "You Know There's Something Wrong When." And if you'll look into this book, there is a globe that is in the middle of the book somewhere, a picture, and it has puzzle pieces. And in the center, the biggest piece, you'll see Edward G. Griffin's name, and then you'll see other people's name around it. Those are the people that she has compiled information from over the years. She claims to be, an astute researcher, but really the only thing that I've discovered is that she pilfers other people's works for her benefit. So let me tell you a little bit about the investigation that I conducted. Anna recruited me, and it was really interesting to me because I really was unaware of who Anna Von Reitz was at the time. I was approached by the then coordinator of the Texas State Assembly, Lee. And Lee reached out to me and told me that there was someone that would like to speak with me, and it was Anna. And I was intrigued by it. I've been a truth seeker for 26 years now. I started a militia, a statutory militia in my county. I've been, doing outreach with law enforcement and talking with them for years and years and years. So I do have a little bit of a reputation in the movement as someone that can get results. And I think that this is how she found me. But she offered me the position of peacekeeping task force coordinator without any paperwork or anything being done before the position was offered. And when I accepted, that's when she informed me that I needed to do this paperwork. And, we went back and forth on this paperwork for quite some time. And what I discovered in this paperwork is that if you complete it and you file it on the record, you're actually you're surrendering your fiduciary power to your estate, to her. This is what we're trying to get away from, is we've got a corporate system of government, a proxy government, that has already put themselves in as our fiduciary. We don't need fiduciaries. What we need accountability, and we need self-governance. We need to learn how to manage our estates and our affairs appropriately. But like most of these gurus, she was not there for the benefit of the people. So that made me very suspicious, and it caused me to do a little bit of digging. And so I did some background checking on Anna, and like Floyd articulated, she did a tenure of Planned Parenthood. She was also someone who took a blood oath to the Vatican, to the church. And the only blood oath that's available through the Vatican that the church accepts is from Jesuits. So those were big red flags for me. And then as my investigation continued and started doing some digging, I discovered James Belcher and his background, which is also, not what you would expect or want from what she claimed to be the leader of, America, the owner and, fiduciary of America. Not somebody that I would want as a leader. And then my, investigation continued further into Harold Hines. Now, Harold Hines is an interesting point in the investigation because at the time I didn't know this, not until later I found some things out about Harold. But in the beginning, I knew that Harold worked for Exxon Valdez. I knew that he was responsible for the oil spill that took place, the Exxon Valdez oil spill. And I knew that he had been married to a woman who conveniently died in a plane crash. And I knew that he had been looked into. And then as time progressed, I met a man, and he was able to shed a little bit more light on Harold Hines. He had an association with him through this wife that had mysteriously died. And through that information share, I discovered that he was actually being investigated by the FBI. Now, this took my investigation to a whole new level, because anytime you're looking at a group like this, a patronat group or a conspiracy group or anything that's construed by the de facto government as being domestic terrorism or a threat to homeland security, it's really probably not something that anyone should be concerned about until the FBI gets involved. And the FBI typically, when they get involved, it's because they feel that there's some sort of threat. So the fact that they had conducted this investigation into Harold Hines created a weak link in their chain of command. And so as I began looking into them and doing some digging, I made the realization that this is a COINTELPRO operation, verbatim. It's right out of the textbook. And I started to encounter other people such as David Strake, who were affiliated or associated with Anna von Reitz in a very, very loose way, so to speak. And then as I started digging into these people, I started to find even more nefarious characters. So at the end of the day, what I discovered is that Anna is hell-bent and intent on creating a situation where people that get involved in her organization lose their forward momentum. They lose all momentum, and they lose all desire to want to be affiliated with any group of people that is trying to create this change that I think we're all looking for. And as this has progressed, it's progressed into me. I haven't even ended the investigation. It actually keeps leading to new things. I keep finding new things all the time. And right now, what I'm discovering is that not only is David Straight a COINTELPRO operative and also affiliated with Anna von Reitz, but that she was affiliated with the national assemblies with Destry. And Destry had a really bad encounter with her as well, which he talks about on his website. And then, through my contacts in the Republic of Texas, I've recently discovered that Tim McLean has become a disruptor inside their organization as well. And he also has a tight affiliation with David Straight, which lends to the fact that he's probably also COINTELPRO operative. In fact, I'm at a point now where personally, I think if anyone is proselytizing themselves as some sort of guru in this movement, that they need to be examined closely, because I know the fellow that was claiming to be the Postmaster General, the guy with the goofy name, I can't even remember. He actually was hauled off.
Trout. I guess we lost Eric.
Say again, Floyd, who?
Trout is probably who he's talking about. S-T-R-O-U-T.
Can you hear
Yes.
me now, Floyd? Okay, sorry about that. What was the last thing you heard?
Trout, is that who you're talking about? Charles Strout?
No, David Lester Straight.
Okay, yeah, but you're talking about somebody else. Go ahead.
No. Oh, Tim McLean from America's Assembly, or that guy, the Postmaster guy. I was talking about how all these people, yeah. So all these people all have affiliations with each other.
It's
Go ahead,
Winston
Floyd.
Strout. That's who you're talking about.
No, he's a much weirder name. Guggen or no, that's Kim Guggen. It's
Right.
golly.
Carry on. Doesn't matter. Carry on. Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah. So anyway, all of these people are affiliated with one another. In fact, this Postmaster guy actually started with Anna, and he got in trouble and ended up in Guantanamo Bay. So the point I'm trying to get to is that, all of these people are a risk, and all of these people have nefarious agendas, I believe. And I feel like it's in people's best interest to realize that and realize that by being a group or an organization, you're not really participating in your de jure republic. You're not part of your de jure republic. There's no political test, there's no religious test required to be a part of your republic. And anybody that puts something in the way of you and your independence and your ability to have self-determination is a threat to your safety and is a threat to your freedoms. And you need to examine that. And personally, from what my experience has told me, anyone that steps up as a guru in this nature is not acting in your best interest. In fact, a lot of them are using you as guinea pigs. And I yield the floor.
Floyd, you're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you. Eric, would you like to endeavor a little bit about your communiques between you and Kim during your own investigation or your experience at Dripping Springs? I mean, if it doesn't add to the narrative, that's fine.
You mean with Tim McLean? What my experience has been with Tim McLean?
With Anna Von Reitz, because that's what we're ultimately here for. Is
Right. Okay, that's what I thought. For some reason, I heard Tim. Okay, so yeah, so my experience in Dripping Springs, that was when I was removed from office. I had essentially done the work. I had created the infrastructure and the ability to be able to push forward with my mission. But nothing had happened inside the Federation of States. And whenever I started to bring things into question and started to ask the hard questions, I was met with retaliation and slander from Anna. And it was incredibly harsh. I mean, it's about as bad as you can get. I was accused of being FBI, CIA, Mossad. I mean, you pick a 3-letter agency and they threw that label at me. And to me, man, you might as well, I don't know. I don't know that there can be much worse than that.
Oh, no, hold on. She called you a dingus, which is a penis. So can't forget that.
Oh, well, my name is Dingus, and I am kind of a prick sometimes, but hey.
That's how low she went. She really published that. I promise you guys. She went through his whole name. She did me as well. That's just her, I guess, one of the little proclivities that she likes to entail. So anyway, so tell us about your back channels between you and Kim. And actually, one of the participants in this baseless, 100% baseless accusation, and I can testify that because I happen to know the couple personally. I've gone to have lunch with them. You're not separating that couple. That ain't happening. They're too good for each other, but she's on here. And I don't know if she wants to come forward and make a statement as well to incorporate and add to Eric's own testimony as well as Kim's, because it all triangulates together. I had no part of that. But basically, the current state coordinator for the Texas State Assembly, Kyle Worley, was on a recording secretary meeting nationwide and basically created a baseless lie. And Anna picked it up and ran with it, using it as ammunition to expel Eric from the peacekeeping task force, as well as with all the other assemblies. And she just raised her hand. So Kim, go ahead. I'll let you go ahead and speak if you'd like to jump in here.
Okay.
No,
Good evening.
Kimberly Wright.
Oh, sorry.
So
Yeah.
I'll let Kim go first, the other Kim.
Okay.
Yeah, let her go first.
Okay. Are you done, Eric?
Yeah, 10-4.
Okay. All right. Kim Reynolds. All right. Tell everybody who you are, Kim, and what position you held, and then tell your story.
My name is Kim Reynolds. I'm a professional program and project manager, have like 35,000 hours experience. I worked for a financial management company in San Antonio for 21 years. And about the time that COVID got started in March 2020, I retired because I didn't want to have anything to do with that foolishness. So a few months later, my husband was very interested in Anna's movement. We got all our paperwork in. I was listening in kind of on the fringes, but I was asked to be the Texas coordinator by a few of the leaders within the coordinator, because the existing coordinator was incompetent. And she was basically asked to leave because of dereliction of duty. And I won't go into the details because it's not important for this conversation.
And that's Lee Lorelei?
Lee Leroy.
Lee Leroy, which is a 100% pseudonym alias that you cannot find anywhere on the internet.
She has 6 different names. If you want them, I have them all. But it's that, again, that's not germane to this conversation.
But these are the people that you're looking up to, that are movers and shakers that you're supposed to be following, and you have no idea who they really are.
Yeah. So anyway,
Go ahead, Kim.
I have all this experience, administration experience, facilitation experience. So I went ahead and took the reins in August of 2020. We went from 12 papered up members to over 175 members in less than a year. We went from no recording secretaries to 8 or 9 recording secretaries just in 3 or 4 months. No, probably 5 or 6 months, plus detailed documented procedures. I mean, we had it down, and we were papering people up left and right all over the place. We had a treasure chest of about $15,000 just based on recording fees that we were helping people with. So we were actually going somewhere, and we were using that money to have face-to-face meetings, and paying for postage and trying to get everybody papered up that had any interest. So on or about June 15th in 2021, I'd been at this just less than a year. I get this call about how Anna von Reitz has just fired Eric, and she is just lambasting him on multiple channels, on Facebook, on Telegram wasn't real popular back then, but Facebook was the primary channel. She gets on her Monday night call, which is being played nationwide, and talking about all of these things that he's supposedly done, and she has the proof. But whenever you ask Anna for any kind of proof, she ignores you. She doesn't have any kind of proof. You go out and look on her website. She has, to Floyd's point, she's a hell of a historian, if you can believe what she puts in writing. A lot of it is her own opinion, or to Eric's point, she's stolen from somebody else. But she has a good shtick. A lot of the stuff that she talks about, birth certificate bond, labor upon with your social security number, all these things that the current de facto government is stealing from the public. It's all true, but she sprinkles enough in there about it being all true. And some of the other things that she's done as far as getting your paperwork done, one of the things that she was very specific about was the red thumbprint goes to the right of your signature. It needs to be touching your signature. It's called your autograph, not your signature. Well, the red thumbprint is correct, but it should go on the left side and shouldn't touch your signature at all. So does that mean everybody that did a thumbprint next to their signature, that their stuff is negated because they didn't do it right? Those are just some of the little things that she did to make it, you know, it's believable on one hand, but on the other hand, it's just good enough to be bad. And it's those little tricks that I have discovered since I left the assembly. So we found out that on about the 15th of June, 2021, that she had fired Eric in a public forum without talking to him. I felt as a business professional that that was very unprofessional behavior. She should never have said those things. Then she goes in and calls him a penis because his last name is Dingus. And I've got that in writing somewhere. It's just ridiculous how unprofessional that she handled this. So she sends me this love note on June 15th to tell me all about Eric Dingus and about how he's called himself the 007 and is an affiliate of the British Crown. He suggested we commit our communications to a Canadian firm. I mean, she just goes on and on and on. And it's like, really? So I responded to her a few days later and I said, well, thank you for letting me know. And I'm being approached by some concerned Texas Assembly members that know Eric. And they're asking for some evidence that you can provide. And I asked her to do that and that, you know, please forward in documented evidence that supports your position so I can put my Texas Assembly members' concerns to rest and support Eric's removal from participating in the Texas Assembly. Basically, her email or her nastygram about Eric, she was telling me to distance myself and toss him out of the assembly, basically. So he doesn't have any kind of forum, he doesn't have any kind of recourse to talk to people to try to right this particular wrong. And we're talking about slander and libel all over the place. So the next day I get this nastygram from her saying that I threatened her. And this email is 4 sentences long. There are no threats. I've just asked her for information. And she also said that she explained the reasons why Eric was let go. And that instead of coming to us with this information, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but she's trying to convince me that she's given me all the information that I need and please do what she says. And I responded that, you know, as I understand, it's not my role or is it my position to be satisfied or unsatisfied with her staffing choices. Eric was her staffing choice. And because I didn't want to get in the middle of this. And I said, basically, the Federation, which is the organization she calls herself, has a prerogative to hire and fire staff as they see fit. Quite frankly, this is a distraction from the work that needs to be done, and it's outside my scope. I prefer to direct concerned assembly members to you unless you advise I should forward inquiries elsewhere. Unless there's something more I need to know, I'll continue to carry on work at hand. I just so disagreed with what she did from a professional perspective. But again, that's her choice. So because I didn't follow the brand, I didn't follow her advice, A few days later, she says, I haven't heard back from you under the regarding the association with Eric Dingus and resolution of those concerns. Therefore, I'm removing you as Texas coordinator effective immediately. So she fired me because I wouldn't agree with her. And then she continued to she started lambasting me in public forums. And then after a period of time, she said, well, I'm sure Kim was a good administrator. But that was not the case when all this first went down. And I could easily sue her for libel and slander. And she sent these emails to the Texas Assembly members and all of the Assembly members nationwide. And when that happened, to Floyd's point, the Texas Assembly fractured. And it's not been the same since. They're not doing anything to paper people up. They're not calling weekly meetings anymore. They're not training any individuals. And she did the same thing in California. She did the same thing in Michigan. When these states start being successful and they start getting memberships and they start rolling down the road, and all of a sudden I went from 12 to 175. And then she comes up with this baloney, and then all of a sudden Texas fractured. That's her modus operandi because they can't succeed. She can't let them. It's my opinion that she's doing work for 3-letter agencies, getting all these people stirred up. And then she craters the whole organization for that particular state because she can't let them get too big. Because her controllers tell her she can't let them get too big. This effort can't go for very long. And that's really why we don't have anything to do with her. We've kind of done our own thing. We have a small group of folks that meet every other week to chat about new things that they've learned. Floyd is part of our group. What do you want to say?
I would like to follow up with what Floyd started out with.
This is my husband, Robert. And he was also on the Peacekeepers task force with Eric, and he has a few things he wants to pass on.
Hello, folks. I just wanted to follow up. Floyd. My position in the Texas Assembly was the treasurer, and my position with the Peacekeepers was the treasurer. Now I've got about 40 years experience. I'm an old guy, by the way, with 2 international CPA firms and a lot of background in accounting. Eric came to me and said, how much are we getting contributions from the people outside of the Peacekeepers force? Because it all operated through contributions. So I started asking some questions. And the next thing we know, Eric gets fired.
Yeah, the questions he was asking was for an audit from Terry
That's right.
Strom to identify where those funds were going that was coming through her website that was supposed to go to the Peacekeepers, and it wasn't. Terry and her group were pocketing the money.
So anyway, that's all I needed to say, because as soon as you start poking the bear tosses you out the door. Thank you.
And Anna is okay as long as the people that are running a state's assembly are so unprofessional and don't know what they're doing. They're like Keystone cops. But when you get a professional folks in there that know how to run a business and know how to take steps forward and actually be successful, she does whatever she can to get rid of them. And I yield. Kimberly, you follow up with that?
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Robert.
Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly. I was also in the Texas Assembly, and I'm only here in this moment because if I can prevent somebody from getting involved with Anna-Von Reitz, I'm happy to do that. I served as a recording secretary alongside Kim as the coordinator. And I also, my husband and I joined the assembly in early 2019. We started listening to the calls and listening to Anna We didn't do our paperwork right away. We were taking everything in. But to be as brief as possible, prior to Kim taking over as the coordinator, it was very unorganized. And I would say, not going anywhere fast. And then when Kim took over, which was probably 6 months after we joined, things started to really shape up. And, she has amazing talent in management. And my husband and I got involved. He also served as a justice for a while. And we were very motivated because we felt that we were doing something for Americans and for humanity to help people learn the truth about citizenship in this country and really anywhere, but specifically in this country. So we were very motivated to be of service and became involved and gave a lot of our time and energy. And Anna von Reitz, during that time, we were pretty hook, line, and sinker. She's very well-spoken about these topics. She's very convincing. And so we believed her. And then as we were very involved and putting a lot of our free time into helping others through the assembly, when we witness, and I speak for my husband and myself, he's not here right now, but when we witnessed what happened to Eric, and then almost immediately what happened to Kim, just as a result of her asking Anna to provide evidence. And I was certainly, along with some of the other people who were very involved in the assembly, some of the other recording secretaries, really great people. And we were just like, what is going on? She needs to, you can't just slander someone. You have to, by law, by the real law, there should be a trial, or there should be something where this person is allowed to stand before a jury of peers, or, something in regards to what we're actually taught is correct. And it was clear that that wasn't going to happen, that Anna was not willing to provide evidence. And I watched, as a recording secretary, having a lot of contact with Kim and being privy to those conversations. I was pretty shocked, honestly, by Anna's responses to Kim, simply asking very respectfully, look, people are concerned. They want to see the evidence. They want to know why, you're making these outlandish claims. That's fine. But, let's go about this the right way. And her response to Kim actually really shocked me. And immediately I just said, wow, this is not okay. And this is not actually what it appears to be. This is actually a cult. And she is a cult leader. In a cult, the leader is always very articulate and convincing, and people are willing to follow them for that reason. And but you are not allowed to question the cult leader. And that's what I saw right away with Anna. You were not allowed to question her. And Kim wasn't even really questioning her. She was just saying, hey, people want some evidence, do something about this. And her response was not just negative. I would call it almost psychopathic. I read the emails there. Her responses to Kim's requests were outlandish. I mean, they were verbally abusive towards Kim, and certainly towards Eric. So that was it for me. And then at that point, everything started to fall apart when she fired Kim. And as there was some backlash, she just said, she started slandering the whole Texas Assembly. I was being slandered. I mean, it just became this massive circus, and kind of ridiculous. But it was still very shocking. Here was this woman who claims to be of the law, and she's teaching all these really honorable things and the truth. And yet she just turned into an absolute psycho monster, with no skills whatsoever. I mean, Kim called her unprofessional. that's putting it mildly. She was not just unprofessional. She was psychotic. She was verbally abusive to people. She was dragging anybody and everybody she could on social media down, including Kim. And I know Kim, and her and Robert are still good friends of ours. And these are very upstanding people. And the whole thing was really shocking. So there's nothing anybody could say to me at this point to ever redeem Anna von Reitz in my eyes. I have seen her for who she is. She's very articulate, and I would warn anybody to walk away from anything she is offering or dangling in front of you. I think she's a complete fraud. Well, I don't think it. I know that she's a complete fraud with whatever she is offering, and she's constantly dangling things in front of people. As Kim had said, there's a lot of truth in what she teaches, but that's how cult leaders operate. It's also how con artists operate. You know, they're smooth talkers, and they offer you a lot of truths to suck you in. But she's never come up with, as far as I know, any of the promises that she's made. And I've watched a few people, the few people that I've had contact with after leaving the assembly. One lovely young woman, her and her husband that I had helped do their paperwork with, were in the process of losing their home because of what Anna was teaching, not because they couldn't afford to pay their mortgage, but because Anna had convinced her husband that if they stopped paying their mortgage, they could go about things according to her plan, and they would then own their home outright. And they were in the process of, not only had they been foreclosed on, their house had been sold in foreclosure. And this poor woman with young children was waiting for any day the sheriff to show up at their house. It was devastating to hear. And I think that was around the time that Terry Somm, who, as Floyd mentioned, was Anna's right-hand woman through a lot of her adventures in her work, that I became aware that Terry had been arrested because her house was in foreclosure, and they came and they carted her off to jail. So I don't think that Anna knows what she's doing. I think she keeps people convinced that she knows what they're doing. She keeps carrots dangling in front of them so that they are willing to give her money. And when she fails, she blames it on somebody else. Oh, well, they didn't do what I told them to do. So
that's how she justified the Colorado 9. I've heard her speak on them. She said, well, I told them not to do that, and they did it anyway. Oh, well.
Yeah, and she does that with everything. And I really have yet to hear of anybody who has, really succeeded in some way in court, or, there was a couple in the assembly when we were there, and the guy had been in jail and was dealing with a court battle, and Anna had convinced them to give her money, and she was gonna help them out, and they just bought it all hook, line, and sinker. And when the assembly fell apart, the people that were really invested in Anna, and we were one of them, but there were a lot of people who just they didn't want to accept that Anna was not who she said she was. So just true to form in a cult, if you go against the leader, all of us who started questioning her, and there were several of us who started, in the group meeting saying, well, look, we just want to have a trial for Eric, and we want some just, the law and some order here. We were due process. Thank you. We were immediately ostracized from that community. And the people who remained, everything just fell apart. They seemed like good. A lot of them seemed like good people to me. But when I went back a few months later, after being sick in the hospital with COVID, I went back to get reimbursed for a lot of my expenses as a recording secretary. And there was no order. I don't know who ended up with the thousands of dollars that had been donated to the assembly and all the money that we took in doing paperwork. But, they wouldn't even reimburse me for my postage stamps, not postage stamps, a lot of postage that I had spent mailing documents and such. So you know, it just went so sideways after having this amazing group of people who were genuinely wanting to help humanity, wanting to help Americans and move forward with just doing the right thing. And I don't even know, I've heard they don't even have meetings anymore, like Kim said. So here we are. I just came on here to say, look, you know, firsthand experience. Anna is a very smooth talker. I believed her. I was very impassioned by her ability to speak about all of these things, and I thought we were doing something great. You don't need Anna van Reitz in any way, shape, or form. We have learned, those of us who left the assembly, we are constantly learning. We get together, some of us, we get together and we talk about what we're learning along the way. Floyd is always doing great work, teaching on his channel. It's a lifelong process, really, to learn what we're doing here and to learn what it really means to be an American and stand on the land and stand in truth. It's an ongoing process, but don't look to Anna van Reitz. There's a lot of other resources, and it's really not that complicated. I think that Anna very deliberately complicated the process, made the paperwork much more tedious than it needs to be. Floyd can probably speak to that really well, but there's a lot of different avenues. I've seen different people going different routes in this regard, in regards to not paying taxes or in regards to dealing with the law. And, you know, it's really a self-learning process. Stay away from, as Eric said, stay away from anybody who is a self-proclaimed guru in this regard, and they tell you they have the only way. I think Floyd is one of the few people who actually has a channel who's just giving great information. He's interviewing people and giving people the opportunity to really learn and then share what he's learning along the way. But he does his best not to make claims that of things that he's, you know, can't prove or hasn't tried out himself. So if you're going to follow anybody, follow Floyd, because he's not going to dangle a carrot in front of you. Stay away from Anna van Reitz.
Just a couple more things about Anna. We've told you, and we're not the only storytellers here. I can give you names of probably 50 different people who would tell you the same thing, that were part of the Texas Assembly, part of the Assembly in California, part of the Assembly in Michigan and Wisconsin, that she did this over and over and over again. But let's take another leap forward. About the time I left, she brings on this guy named Hunter. He's from Hawaii, and his last name is like 3 or 4 syllables I could never pronounce, but he
AKI.
Okay, Akai.
Good segue into him. Thank you.
Yeah, so Anna has no credibility with us. So she brings on this guy, Hunter, who's all about the 528 megahertz love frequency. And he's got a nice show. He's got some good video. He's got supposedly this application that you could go online and look at. It's a pyramid scheme in my mind, to where people put money in it and it never comes out. My point is, if Anna van Reitz is trustworthy, the person that she brings on to be the bank for her organization, which is Hunter Akai, is also untrustworthy. Do not trust these people. And if you put your money in, especially if you've got big RV money going, you may never see it again. Your choice. We're not going to tell you what to do or how to do it or where to put your money or make your investments or how you're going to solve that problem. But I'm telling you, in my opinion, don't go near her or her bank, because you're going to be very, very sorry. I yield.
Thank you, Kimberly. And Kimberly, Eric, jump on real quick.
Yeah, Floyd. Yeah, I wanted to address Hunter, actually, because so part of my responsibilities as the peacekeeping task force coordinator was to ensure that we had the infrastructure in place to be able to be what we were presenting ourselves as a legitimate form of Republican government. And in order to do that and be recognized, one of the things that the government has to do is offer government services. So Anna had expressed to me that she wanted to establish what she was calling at the time a blue dot bank, which was essentially a credit union for American state nationals. And so I began doing research into different people to try and find the right fit for what we were doing. And what I soon discovered was that there was no one specific person that was going to be the right fit for what we were doing, because what we were doing had never been done before, and we were going to need the opinions and input of many. And whenever I discovered Hunter, I explained to Anna that he was a stepping stone, that what he did was he brought us into an international banking community in which there were contacts that we vitally needed to be working with, and it would not be him. I said, you know, I explained to her the one benefit that he brings to the table is he has already been able to negotiate contracts with credit card companies like Visa and MasterCard. And that was going to be something that was going to be vitally important to what we were doing. And, you know, as the relationship started to grow, I discovered some things about Hunter that were not apparent in the beginning, and I immediately brought them to Anna's attention. But she said that because he was whatever vibrating at whatever frequency, that she had confidence in him, and yada yada yada. Just because the old system said he was bad didn't necessarily mean he was bad. But the guy is definitely not what he is portraying. He is a very good actor, and he definitely is after other people's money, for sure. He's got an international investment scheme that he's running, and several other people that were affiliated with Anna were very shady. There was people in California, you know, the alias thing was a very common thing among people that were in her inner circle. So again, just with all of these things, err on the side of caution, and really just focus on your own individual education before you do decide to take any action. Make sure you do plenty of research. I yield.
Thank you very much, Eric. Daryl, you have your hand up.
Yes. Eric said something that,
Introduce yourself, please, to everybody.
pardon? Introduce
yourself to everybody so we all know who you are and where you come from and what your
I'm
story.
Daryl Gilson, and I'm from Oregon. I started with the Oregon Assembly about a month and a half after it was formed, actually, in 2019. Since then, Bobby Graves was the coordinator at the time, and he didn't have good electronic connections. So he asked me to be co-coordinator, which I started doing. And my history, I started in the Hawaii Assembly years ago, and actually was in contact with Destry at that time. And Anna came out with this big Michigan Assembly bad. So we followed Anna instead of Destry. And anyhow, I ended up in Oregon as the coordinator for a while. And then all of a sudden, I was informed that the Federation hired the coordinators, that the assemblies had no place in picking the coordinator. And at that point, when I was informed that I was an employee of the Federation, I resigned immediately and told them that I would not be an employee of the Federation, and I would refuse to take a foreign title from a foreign person. which is what I considered Terry, Sam, and Anna to be at that time, as handing out foreign titles. And I would have no part in that. So I resigned as coordinator. Anyhow, that's just some of my history. But Eric made a statement just recently, well, he made it on this Zoom, that the paperwork that Anna had us fill out handed over her being the fiduciary, and that's not something that was ever talked about or explained. And so I'd like to hear more about how the paperwork makes her a fiduciary, because I need to correct that. But the thing that I came, as I studied what she was saying and how things worked, I asked her, who is in the Federation and how do you get to be part of the Federation? And then she come along saying that the Federation controlled the assemblies. And I replied to her, that's not possible, because if there was a Federation, it was formed by the people. And if it was formed by the people, it could not control the people. The people controlled the Federation. And then I said, and as far as James Belcher being a hereditary head of state, I said, that's not possible, because when we did the Declaration of Independence, we kicked all the hereditary stuff out of this country. And it was only by election that you could hold an office in this country. And there was just many things like that. And every time I ask her for any kind of proof, because she's got like 4,000 and some publications on her website, and she's got all these claims of she sent letters to this one or that one or the other one. And I asked her for show me a green card from the post office that you ever sent anything to anybody. And of course, like everybody knows here, I got called names, I got slandered, I got, just yelled at, basically. But I am really interested to hear Eric tell me how the paperwork makes her a fiduciary. I yield.
Yeah, Daryl, I'd be happy to. So first, I need to explain some fundamentals that escape a lot of people, especially people that are been into the assemblies, and that's where they've been getting a lot of their education from. First off, status correction. You are born in one of the several states. Therefore, you are by default a national. Secondly, when you become of the age of accountability and you become a property owner or part of the body politic, you are by default a state citizen. When you enter into contract with the federal government, now you become a U.S. citizen, and that's done via the birth certificate, Social Security, marriage license, driver's license, any licensure, any right that's been converted into a privilege and had licensure or fee issued as a result of having the privilege. That's done by contract. So the two statuses that Anna is proselytizing about people needing to correct are by default yours. And another fact of law is that political self-determination is a God-given right. In fact, all self-determination is a God-given right. Thereby, no one shall ever stand between you and self-determination. So, the political subdivisions are your choice at any time because they all belong to you. Everything in our reality is a creation of man except for nature itself. Therefore, we have the burden of responsibility of control management. And so these statuses are yours to claim at any time. I can go into 3 different jurisdictions anytime I choose, and I can function just fine in those jurisdictions. I don't ever have real problems. So status correction, that's a misnomer. It's not necessary. What is necessary is a simple declaration, because as Americans, the document that we stand on is the Declaration of Independence. And it outlines that it is necessary that we make a declaration and give the reasons for such declaration. So really, that's all that's necessary to separate yourself from the corporation, is a simple declaration on the record. Now, you can do other things, and I'm not going to get into all that because I want to focus on the answer to your question. And this is all part of the answer. So when you start to do this paperwork and you start to give your allegiance to something known as an American State Assembly or National Assembly or whatever you want to call it, you are giving yourself into that. You're actually swearing allegiance to it. And when we swear allegiance to things, or we take oaths, or we make affirmations, well, there's consequences for that always. And if you'll actually go back and you'll read the paperwork in the 928 bundle, there's a document in there that states that you are agreeing that Anna von Reitz and the Federation of States is acting as the fiduciary authority. And when you give your allegiance, no, that's not right, Tim?
No, that's not right at all. The 928 documents, there's none of them that mention Anna von Reitz. There's none of them that mention the Federation. There's none of them that mention any type. The only thing that might be close is a membership agreement that you would sign to the Texas Assembly or the Oregon Assembly. And when you decide that you don't want to participate, then you send that information, that document that you signed, and you write void, 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 void all over it, and you nullify that document in your membership. None of the 928 docs have any reference to the Federation and Anna von Reitz in any way, shape, or form.
Okay, my apologies. I must have been thinking about other paperwork. But again, the membership would create the vulnerability, because the assemblies, by Anna's definition, are created and controlled by the Federation of States. So by default, you would be giving your allegiance to the Federation of States through the States Assembly. So that would also accomplish the same thing. You have to forgive me. I've looked at so much paperwork over the years, and I haven't even actually examined the 928s. And
Yeah, Eric, let me interrupt you for a minute. The paperwork is not uniform across all state assemblies
that's also very true.
Yeah, and I've looked at some of the packages, so some of it's different. And when they talk about the 928 package, that was before I came into the assembly, and it was a different package from the one that I did in 2020. So it's changed, and it's, it's Anna. You would think that if you're trying to create something, you have a federation with this legal law firm, whatever the hell it's called, that there would be a uniform structure like the Uniform Commercial Code for all the assemblies. So the paperwork would be uniform. It'd all be the same, be in form function. It can be scanned, where a scanner could read it, but it's not that way, because we know from the testimony that we're receiving here how it really works and why it really works. And all it is a function for Anna von Reitz to enrich herself, grifting off the predatory nature of other people. I hate to hear that. I want to kind of carry on. I want to get into some other these, like Don. I'd like to hear his testimony, because that's where the real heartbreak is going to come in when you start hearing these stories about the financial losses that some people have suffered here. And I want to thank them very much for coming on and sharing their own experiences with us and with the world, because this needs to stop. And when you hear the numbers, you're going to be astonished. And don't think for a minute that he's the only one out there that this has happened to, because I guarantee you there's other people who have made the same type of investment, going all in, believing drinking the Kool-Aid. And this is where we're at. And this video is for all of those people, all the people that we can prevent from doing the same thing. especially with this RV coming up. It's very expectant. People are calling it out for this weekend, maybe next week. So there's going to be a lot of really wealthy people out there who will be easily hoodwinked. And I think the Seeds of Wisdom team knows that. They're very gullible. They rely on every word that you say. I wake up every morning to Mark Z, Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock, and then again on Saturday. That's who I wake up to, turn him on. 10 minutes, I'm awake, and I catch the news. That's how I start my day. And then I'll come down here and start answering emails, turn him on my second laptop and listen to it. And I listen to everything he says. And when I catch him when he's out of line, I'll text him and correct him, and he'll correct himself on air. That's how close I am with Mark. And he had Bob on there today. That's the second time I've caught Bob promoting Anna von Reitz. Her name should never come out of anybody's mouth that's associated with the Seeds of Wisdom team, anybody in this movement. She is persona non grata. She's only out for herself. Her record is loud and clear. I can't, and I say this all the time about her. I've beat the horse, the dead horse, so badly that there's nothing left to beat. Everything I say, I'm just repeating the same thing I've said year after year after year. I do an annual video because I was told by him when I was in the assembly, hey, Anna's creating a bank. We need a standalone brick and mortar bank. I went out because I was doing real estate and I found a empty commercial bank, 2-story with, I think I had 14 drive-throughs. Perfect, on a major thoroughfare, right on the 610 loop here in Houston, Texas. And I told Kim about it. She was, well, we're not ready for it yet. Well, are we creating a bank or not? I never heard another thing about it. So after I left, I started doing videos. Is the bank there yet? Do you have your debit card yet? And that has changed over the years. Originally, it was supposed to be a debit card that was tied to your Setui K-View trust that you could pay off your bills with. And that was it. You couldn't go out and buy Rolls Royces and Ferraris and mansions and yachts and be Elmer J. Fudd. But that was the original deal. And then it changed. And then she brought in this Hunter guy, and everything just has gotten real sketchy since then. So with that segue, Don, are you ready? And would you like to present your testimony? There you
They're
go.
not ready. I had to unmute myself.
Thank you. Introduce yourself, please, to everybody, and then carry on with your story. Thank you.
My name is Don Baker. I'm with the Oregon Assembly. I've been with the Oregon Assembly a couple of years, and that's sort of I got introduced to Anna von Reitz through that, and it was kind of refreshing to find somebody who could talk about the kinds of things that were going on in the government that were taking our freedoms and responsibilities away rather than giving them to us. So that was good, and I learned quite a few things from Anna, but after a while, I even got introduced to Hunter Aki. And he seemed to have a banking solution, but it had some very unique kinds of ways of describing it. Was going to be completely transparent, was not going to have any usury or deal with interest. It was for everybody. And was also planning on using what's called lawful money. And, this group is already familiar with what that is. Anyway, so I put a small amount into it. And that was back in May or June last summer. After a while, I'm a 73-year-old guy, and so there was an IRA that I had a little bit of money in, and so I pulled that money out and was going to put it into something else. And lo and behold, a message came from Terry Somm that was supposed to be shared with all of the assemblies. Can I do a screen share by any chance? I'll just tell you what.
Yes, no, hang on. Let me give you privileges.
It should automatically be there.
No, it's not. He's a
Oh.
co-host, and there you go. All right, Don, you can share screen.
Okay, how do I determine which screen to share? I've never tried this before.
Yeah, you just click the screen share, and it's going to pop up a bunch of window panes, and you just double click on the one you want to open up.
Click on the right one. Shoot.
You got a bunch of tabs.
There we go. Okay, I think I see it.
Double click on that. There you go.
Okay. So this came out September 19th, and it was to be shared with all of the assemblies. And I'll just go through. The banks are preparing for a massive bail-in program and restricting withdrawals. Close all accounts and withdraw as cash to the extent possible. Only money we've already captured in global will be safe. Nothing insured will be safe. It's the insurance collapse that's precipitating the bank collapse. Peter is robbing Jesus to pay Paul. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but she goes on, the Federal Reserve notes are evidence of their debts, so they're seizing them and seizing accounts denominated as Federal Reserve notes in all insured banks. That includes credit unions that offer insured accounts. If they are insured, they are not indemnified. The insurance companies are failing because of the strain of the vaccination death toll worldwide. All those life insurance claims are being disallowed, and the insurance companies are losing in litigation. The banks are not willing to go on with the charade without insurance. The best thing, this is all the fear porn. But now she's going to offer a solution. She says the best thing would be cash. If you need to transact money orders, we will be hitting the post offices all over the country buying money orders in various amounts. It looks like that will be the only visible way to get things done in the interim, and that is why the Pope insisted that all liquid assets be in the Vatican Bank by September 30th. He anticipates the drawdown of the money orders, which are backed in gold. We have maybe 10 days to act. So her advice is get your money out of the bank. And I just had this kind of windfall, $140,000, $150,000 from the IRA. And I thought, where can I put that where it's safe? I've been thinking about that. Anna's advice is to put it in the only safe place possible. Put it in global. Only money we have already cashiered in global will be safe, says Anna.
And just for clarification, Don, that is Hunter's bank, right?
Well, I certainly thought so at the time.
Yeah.
And it made sense. Right? So I put some more money in Hunter's bank, quite a bit. And I wasn't the only one. In fact, there's 3 people from the state of Oregon where the total amount is like $331,000 that went into Hunter's credit union and bank. And Hunter said, this will go straight into his credit union as soon as it's open. And the grand opening is scheduled for July 4th. It's like 6-7 weeks away. We don't even have 2 months to wait before this happens. Now, Anna's message that Terry sent out said we have 10 days, maybe, to act. So I took this seriously and went along with a bunch of this advice, as did many other people, because this went nationwide. So who knows how much money people, the dog is getting upset. Who knows how much money nationwide was collected by Hunter? The last I heard, there was maybe $3-4 million, spread around people in the United States. So I made my moves, as did several other people within the 10 days. And nothing happened. There was no banking collapse. There was no insurance company collapse. And 10 more days passed. And what happened is we got a message from Anna von Reitz. She said, and I could actually share this screen again, but I'll, if it's not up there, is it?
Yes, we can see it.
Oh, okay, there's her picture there. She says, this evening, this is on October 8th, I'm able to positively assure everyone that we have avoided a banking and insurance industry collapse. Wow. We have not been able to keep the real estate bubble from bursting, and the related fallout from that could mean that up to 30% of the workforce in the US and Europe will be out of work for some time. If you can read the screen, it says, this is when I realized the sting. I realized that I'd been had. And so things, we were scurrying around, and I eventually, got around to putting in a transfer request, a wire transfer request from Hunter. And when I figured out how it could be done and got some information about how to do it, to get most of my money back. And I filed that with Hunter's bank with Hunter on December 5, as did, I guess, a whole bunch of other people. Hunter got upset about that, but I, called him in a couple of days and said, hey, I really need this because of the family emergency, because I wanted to be able to help other people when, some of these things are happening. And he said he would return my money. And that was, I believe, on a Friday, a Thursday or Friday. So knowing that a wire transfer can sometimes take a couple of days, I waited till Tuesday in the next week and wrote Hunter back and said, hey, did you do it yet? Pretty much. And he wrote me a reply that said that he'd talked to Anna, and I don't need the screen share anymore, Floyd. That he had talked to Anna, and they know that some evil force has caused a bank run on their banks, and they have to start an investigation to get to the bottom of this. So he recommended I keep my money in his bank, and I wrote him back, of course, and said, no, I choose not to. I need the money. And that was, we had a couple of emails back and forth, and that was before the end of December 20th. And I have not heard from Hunter ever since then. However, Anna claims she talks to Hunter every day. And she would, send my information and give him a poke, and he'll be responding to it. He did. He told Anna that he didn't have time to call me because he's so busy. But he didn't call me. And that was last December in 2022. I haven't heard from Hunter since then. I've heard from Anna many, many times because she has mentioned me in many of her letters. She has other people in the state of Oregon. And anybody who's read any of her recent articles, probably 80% of them is devoted to dragging Oregon through the mud. Anna and Hunter were working together on this. Hunter told me specifically, he talked with Anna, and that's why I'm not getting my money back. They're in cahoots on this. It's like they planned it a long time ago. They have banking documents where Hunter's Global Family Bank and Hunter's Trade Bank and Anna's banks are also called Global Family, with slight differences in the name. And they have agreements that they will share all of their functions, from taking deposits and sharing accounts and software, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anna says she has nothing to do with Hunter's banks. She, she distances herself from him legally, but she supports him 1,000% and says she speaks with him almost every day. I think we have a case. We have a case here for a collusion from the two of them to scam people out of money. And $250,000 is from Oregon, and who knows how much in other places across the country. I think we should go after her and Hunter. That's about it.
Thank you. Absolutely. Eric, you have your hand raised. You'd like to add to that? Thank you, Don.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Dawn, have you, and I realize that we're, trying to live outside of a system that we don't agree with, and is unlawful. But have you considered filing a report with the FBI? Because, I'm going to tell you, from my firsthand experience, I actually sat down with the FBI and had lunch with them in Cheyenne, Wyoming, of all places. And I spoke with the gentleman who's in charge of the Patriot Movement investigative team. And he gave me 3 warnings. He said, stay away from the UCCs, stay away from trying to take people's bonds or come against people's bonds, and be very, very careful and stay away from Anna von Reitz. And so they're quite aware of who she is and what she's doing. So I'm just curious if you've considered maybe filing charges with her through the de facto government, just to see what happens. I yield.
Eric, that's a really great question. I went to the FBI and I gave them my claim. And I was basically told right then and there, before they even did any investigation or looking into it, they said it's not a big enough claim to even think about. They're looking for multi-billions of dollars and hundreds or thousands of people. And I was just one guy showing up at the FBI headquarters in Portland, Oregon. And they basically told me to pound sand. But I had everything on a thumb drive. I had all the attachments to my claim. It was almost 200 pages of information. And they grudgingly took it from me And after a few calls back over the next few weeks, they said they put it into their system and they really need more people to come forward in order to even think about doing something.
Okay. All right. Well, you know, you went to a headquarters office, so you got Joe Blow agent, and I can appreciate their position on that, and that's probably very true. They're looking for big fish. However, I will say that I do still have a contact with Nate. I have his email address and his phone number, and he's the gentleman that's in charge of that division. You know, maybe I could reach out to him and see if he might be interested in taking your information, because I know that he has been watching her for quite some time and possibly has just been waiting for her to make the wrong mistake, because if she is not, in fact, a COINTELPRO operative, then she would be vulnerable to prosecution by the FBI. Because the FBI is the one that runs the COINTELPRO operations. That's one of their programs. So I think it might be worthwhile to at least try. If you're interested, I'd be happy to help.
Hey, Eric, why don't you take Don's phone number and his email and maybe give him your phone number so that you guys can keep in touch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm texting him in the private chat my contact information right now. Thank you, Kim. I gotta remember how to do it though.
There's a lot of other people on here. I don't know exactly who all of you are personally. Some of you are probably on the other Oregon meeting, but I didn't get to interact with each of you individually. So if anybody else has anything they'd like to add to this, their own personal experiences, try to keep out third-party hearsay. I'm trying to keep this, you know, clean, on topic. Other people are going to be seeing this. You're going to be able to share it with other assembly members, former assembly members, because, you know, like ourselves, there are some really good people out there, have a good heart, and we're actually, you know, trying to move in a positive direction, and just got caught up in the entanglement of Anna's web of conspiracy, lies, and just vampiristic behavior to waste everybody's time and energy. Does anybody else have anything to add? Love to hear it.
This is Bill. May I?
Yes, Bill, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm on the Oregon group as well. My story is just exactly like Don's. I decided to put a chunk of money into the bank because of the story, and also because I'd heard for years that there was going to be bail-ins, and I did expect it to come along eventually. But since there was multiple sources suggesting that that was coming soon, not just Anna, but so I put some money in, and actually about 90% of my retirement, you know, discretionary funds. So quite a bit. It's almost $200,000. And then I applied for the return of, you know, wire transfer, and I got a similar thing back that at first that he was going to send it back. And I have sent 2 internal emails on the website to say, is there some update on these? What's going on? Those were quite a while ago. So far, nothing. And I haven't had any communication with Hunter. And I did not go to the FBI. I didn't do anything with it. I still log in every day and look at the account, but that's about it. I yield.
Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate it. Thank you for adding to that. Some of you, you know, definitely in Oregon, y'all know the story, but for those of you who do not know the story, and Kimberly Wright mentioned Terry Toms. Terry Toms to this day is still Anna Von Reitz's Monday night buffer gatekeeper on the webinar. Let me tell you the story about that. as I mentioned earlier about the Sign in America program, Terry Soms was all in. Nice piece of property she had, nice house. She quit paying her mortgage. 2.5 years later, of course, the county foreclosed on it, sold it. The owner came to take possession. She still inhabited the house. The sheriff had to come and extract her out of the house. And so the new owner was, going to go back and, rehab it and I guess put it on the market. When he came back later, it was rehabitated and he didn't know who was in there. So of course he talked to the neighbors. It's like, yeah, they're back in there. So he called the sheriff's department. Sheriff's department came out, looked at all the cars in the driveway. All the cars in the driveway had license plates out of Las Vegas from Max with American State Nationals on there. So they did 2 and 2 and they figured out, oh, okay, so they're back in there. So they tried to just knock on the door and get her out. She wouldn't come out, wouldn't answer the door. So they brought in an anti-personnel vehicle with the SWAT team, full ninja gear with the helmets and the riot gear, and literally blew the front door off the house to extract Terry. A couple other inhabitants, I don't know who they were, found a firearm, and that's how they extracted Terry Soms out of her home. After going through all that, following Anna's Sign in America program, she still to this day, this is how drunk on the Kool-Aid she is. She still, believes Anna, still out there fronting for Anna, still playing the little ladies. I don't really understand why she would do that. It's insanity. I would just be livid if it happened to me. So it just doesn't make sense. I don't understand if she's getting a kickback from Anna that, why wouldn't she just use that to pay off her house and move on or get a new residence or something? So, 2 and 2 just don't equal 4 with Anna at all times. So that just gives you the gravity of some of the hold that this woman has on people and their livelihood. And it's very depraved and sick and wicked and it's evil. And, as Kim alluded to, there's a connection. You can connect the dots to Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation very easily with Anna. Is she controlled by somebody like George Soros or the Clinton Foundation or the Kissinger and Associates or Booz Allen Hamilton or any one of the multiples of the military industrial complex as well as the intelligence industrial complex for the United States of America? We don't know. We don't have any idea. What we do know is everything is suspect about Anna. Now this whole thing with the bank, basically swindling out of, people's life savings. It's such a late stage of their life and such a horrid economy that we're currently going through with inflation, interest rates raising, almost monthly. Yeah, I really feel for you guys. And I don't want to see anybody else hurt or harmed by this type of behavior.
Hey, Floyd.
Yes, ma'am.
Derek, I think it's Derek Gascon is raising his hand. I know he's made a couple of comments on the chat. Derek, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say a couple things about the whole Anna von Reitz deal, and specifically the bank, because
Please, Derek, please introduce yourself to everybody so we know who you are.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is Derek Gascon. I was one of the first recording secretaries for the Texas Assembly, and I got engaged with the Assembly kind of, I think, in the middle of 2020 when the whole COVID thing started off. And my interest in that was just trying to figure out a way to protect myself from the government coming to stick a needle in my arm. But as I got engaged with all that, meeting all of the like-minded people, I wanted to do more. So I became a recording secretary, and, we were doing great things, I think, in the Texas Assembly that, we were really rocking and rolling in terms of the advancements we were making, the number of people that were coming in. And it was really the Texas Assembly that kept me engaged in a lot of things. I started to see some cracks in the Anna von Reitz facade that she puts out. I found she brought on a marketing person, and I did some research on her and found out she was just scamming the system and was probably brought in by Anna von Reitz to use that tool, or the tool that she was trying to set up as a way to generate some money. But what I really wanted to get to was the bank and putting money in the bank. I think I was one of the first in the Texas Assembly that got introduced to Hunter. I had a call with him, video conference with him early on, and you know, I started to look sideways at it because his pitch around a bank was nothing about finance. It was all about, you know, this 528 vibrations or whatever. And so I started looking into him, and I found out he had a cease and desist order for doing some kind of financial scheme in California. That I think was probably only 5 or 6 years before I started looking into that. And then I started looking into what his background was. And he was talking about some of these new technologies that he created. And I've been in the high-tech industry for 30 years. So I started looking for any information on this guy. I couldn't find anything. None of the technology that he talked about was really all that impressive. And so I was a little skeptical on the bank that was coming out. And I feel really bad for Don, you and Dwayne and anybody else who you know, put money into that bank with the best of intentions. I just you know, when I saw that, I thought, okay, I'm going to wait and see what's going on with this whole thing. And then Anna started tearing down the Texas Assembly, and that's where, you know, everything started to fall into place in terms of how she was really just milking the system and using her her knowledge. If it's all hers, I don't know. She's probably got other people that are writing for her, I think. But, you know, the questions that needed to be asked early on in all of this was, you know, what is the organization that she's talking about, the Federation and all that sort of stuff? You know, they made the claims in 2020, late 2020, that all of the bonds had been delivered to the Federation. And this guy, Heinz, or whatever his name is, Harold, he showed up at one of our face-to-face meetings and said, oh, they had the bonds and everything. So my thinking is, okay, well, they've got millions of bonds going back decades, generations. So who's going through all of that stuff? And you start to ask questions about what is the structure behind this government? Is the government going to hand over to a little old lady in Alaska, you know, millions and millions of bonds worth, you know, tens of billions to hundreds of billions of trillions of dollars, and let them just go at it? You know, those are the kinds of questions that started popping up in my head. What is the real organization? You know, if Anna von Reitz dies, who's second in command? Who takes over? Who keeps leading this whole thing? And there were never any answers that came through. You know, as they tore down the Texas Assembly with completely contrived charges on, you know, what Eric was doing and what Kimberly was doing, you could see that her whole modus operandi was, just as Kimberly said, build something up, let it grow to the point where there's an expectation that the Federation is going to deliver on something, because she knows she can't deliver. So then immediately she throws a grenade in and blows it up. She blew up Texas. She blew up California. I did go back and read some of her recent stuff probably a couple weeks ago just to see how she was doing, and she blew up Oregon. So, you know, it's an unfortunate thing, and I feel bad for all of us who were taken in by it. And you know, the only thing I can say to anybody on here who's thinking about getting, you know, further into anything with the von Reitz approach is to not do it. Don't believe anything she says. She claimed that she had paperwork all filed and the bank was going to be set up within 2 weeks, all the way back in 2016. So she's just lying about everything. And I mean, you know, if you think about it, she supposedly has this federation, and her website hasn't changed since 2016, when I probably first started reading her website. The only new thing that she's got, at least when I stopped watching her videos, her weekly videos, was she got a new chair, and she got a new background for her video chats. And, you know, you start looking at these kinds of things, you think there's nobody in government is going to give this lady anything. She's got no organization. She's got no tangible qualities in terms of, you know, financial or business capabilities that I could tell. So I just wanted to get that out because I did see early on that there was some problems with this whole bank thing that she was putting together, and it started getting me concerned about her whole approach to get money in the door. And she was getting more aggressive about it by building this bank up. And this Hunter guy, his first thing is, you know, deposit $5,000 with us. We'll just put it in here and we'll hold on to it for you. And you know, when you're believing these people are all in it with the best of intentions and goodness in their heart, you want to you know, get on board. You want to be a part of something like that and completely understand how it's easy to get, you know, to fall for some of that stuff. And, you know, I just wanted to get that out, give you kind of my perspective on the banking thing, because I think the money part of it is really, you know, it's putting people in dire straits when we don't need that, given where the economy is going, where this government is going. We need to be as safe as possible. So thank you. I yield.
Thank you very much, Derek. Derek is actually the recording secretary that papered me up with the Texas State Assembly. So I reached out to him. Yeah, thank you, Derek, for participating.
Sure, I feel bad about that too.
Hey, I voluntarily did it. Yvonne, yes, ma'am. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello. Thanks for having this call. I just jumped on at the beginning at the invitation of Darla from Oregon. I'm in California. I came to the assembly in probably the fall of 2021. It was right during a time when there was happening a split on California, which I didn't really get, you know, what that was, but that's when I started attending. My paperwork was completed. I did the 928 package in November, and similar, you know, to Derek's path, I saw something good. I wanted to help and thought I'd like to be a recording secretary. So I interviewed for that in December and started my training as a recording secretary. Also, in January of 2022, I attended a meeting of the Jural Assembly, which had just started a study project for the Jural Assembly handbook. And, you know, with good intentions, but not a lot of smarts or, you know, pre-planning, these guys were like, yay, let's study the Jural Assembly, you know, handbook. And I'm like, okay, I'm a trained facilitator. I know how to manage projects, blue, you know, these guys need help, right? So I jumped right in, was duly appointed as the secretary for the Jural Assembly and started working pretty much every day, just straightening up some obvious things that the assembly hadn't done. We didn't have role named emails. We didn't have, you know, clear, you know, secure documentation or places for documents and stuff. And with a background in IT, I just, you know, got close to the IT guys and got some of that stuff put in place. But anyway, we started cooking on the Jural Assembly handbook study project, and we actually ran 2 different series of those. And over the next like 4 or 5 months or so. Also at that time in January, I was asked to advise the vetting committee that it had newly been formed, and was then asked to join the, you know, because of my background in business. And so then I was actually asked to join the vetting committee, and so did that starting in February. So all through the spring, the winter and spring of 2022, as one of the Kims was saying, you know, as soon as you get cooking and things are looking good, there starts to be interference. And the interference that we experienced, both aimed at the vetting committee and aimed at the Jural Assembly, came from someone who was, or a couple of people that were on California, one of whom was the PKTF head. And there was a lot of disinformation that was being thrown out. Things that we were studying in the General Assembly project were being countered. Guidance that we had from training from Shannon Bookey about vetting was countered. And so along about June or so, we stopped the music. We just said, hold on, there's like too much confusion. We need to get to the bottom of it as the vetting committee. And so we set up meetings with Shannon. We published reports that are available about, his straightening us out and clearing up some of the misinformation that was flying around. All this to say that what we saw was, anything to distract, to throw discord in, to get people emotionally jacked up and, at each other's throats. That's the kind of stuff that was happening. It just didn't make any sense at all, and people would say that they really cared about, we need to do this right and stuff, but that wasn't really the result. The result was just confusion. Our Chief Justice, who'd been standing for, 2.5 years, they went after him and he stepped down. He just said, this place is too toxic. That was the word that was most thrown out. People started leaving. We had 2 of our 4 coordinators disappear, just step back. That was like in May, June timeframe. I stepped down as the secretary for the General Assembly at that time because they were coming after me because of both my participation in the vetting committee and the General Assembly committee. And let's see, and then the General Assembly was shut down. They said you can't assemble because you don't have a justice, right? You need to have an officer, so on and so forth, whatever. So the whole thing, like all of this, good energy and people learning and people taking more responsibility and becoming more self-governing and really becoming knowledgeable based on not just the assembly handbooks, but their own research and working with each other week by week, right? So anyway, that's what happened kind of through the summer. And then and in August, the vetting committee was shut down. They just said, Shannon had we'd had a couple of meetings with him and he'd straightened some things out and this is how we're doing it and this is not how we're doing it. Okay, good. We corrected our procedures, we communicated with the assembly, and then he comes back and he says, oh, Anna smacked me upside the head. I had it all wrong. I apologize. We have to shut everything down, and all across the nation, all the vetting committees have to be shut down and start over. And I'm just like, wow, that's really drastic, right? So anyway, so everything went in the tank. Me and my colleagues on the vetting committee, we just like rolled our eyes and stepped back and said, okay, I guess you're doing us a favor, right? And I most of us are not participating with the assembly anymore. I think a couple still are. But anyway, so that's what happened through August. At that time, through the man who had been our justice, he had been in touch with Darla. And Darla mentioned that I met her through the banking thing. Well, this banking thing came up and I started participating with that. So I was actually a bank administrator during the time that Don mentioned, the meetings were happening, and Anna put her notice out in September saying the only safe place for the funds is global. And we had these rush of deposits. And part of what I was doing was just helping organize the process, right? And I was working with Darla to do that. So I had my hands on the software and, the stuff coming in and writing the procedures and training people to, get people's paperwork in and all that kind of stuff. So I saw that, right? And long about, so like I said, we were dealing with this big rush of deposits and so on around September, October, right after Anna's announcement. And then in November, the beginning of November, Darla and I and one other person who was working closely with Hunter at that time, we started to smell something that didn't look good. And we started to wonder about what the heck was going on. So what we did was we did what we called stop the music, but keep the band playing or something like that. It's like we just needed to slow down. We didn't want to take anybody else's deposits because we weren't confident that, you know, there wasn't something screwy going on. And I want to say at this point that a lot of what I'm going to report in the next few minutes here is actually documented in Mattermost. So if anybody is on the Mattermost, you know, American State Assembly, you know, channels and stuff, there are two channels. One's called Banking and one is called the Global Family International Trade Bank. And so back to in November when we started to, you know, slow things down a little bit so that we could figure out what the heck was happening, we actually got that sort of organized and figured out. And in the first week of December, we actually went to Hunter with our questions and concerns. He blew up. So we went to Anna. That was a recorded meeting. And she listened like, like that, you know. But then very quickly after that, you know, turned on pretty much everybody and started writing nasty, you know, public statements about the people who were involved and, you know, what was actually happening. And the story just kept changing every 4 minutes, right? So when Don said that he had, well, let me back. Well, anyway, there's more details. I'll just say there's more details. And, you know, we started processing wire out requests on December 5th. In the next 2 weeks, I think we had like 44 people, something like that, that had requested their money out. And a few got their funds returned. I think that Hunter's approach to that was strategic. I got my funds returned because he knew that I knew, you know, what was going on. So he couldn't afford to have me have a claim against him, right? But there's other people that I know that have not, you know, besides Don, have not received their funds back. I did 2 situation reports that were made public on the Mattermost channels that I mentioned. For anyone who wants to see, you know, what were the facts that were happening in December and, you know, how many people had requested, what Hunter said he was going to do, what he didn't do, you know, what the numbers were, so on and so forth. All of that is documented. Let's see, most of the people who were working for Global left at the beginning of December. I and one other fellow stayed on. We were the only 2 with admin rights, you know, to the software, which, by the way, Hunter didn't build. He just bought it. It's a packaged software. And so we finished out December just processing people's, you know, wire out requests. For Hunter to do the requests, to actually accomplish them, even all the ones that we listed there, I calculated would probably take about 10 hours of work. As of now, he hasn't completed that. So, but it's not because it's a lot of work. It's no big deal. I left, the 2 of us that were left there, we stepped away at the end of December. I've not been in touch with Hunter. I don't have any contact with him. The man who was there with me at the end, he's now passed on. So not available. I know that he was still in touch with Hunter though, beyond that moment, beyond January. So I guess the reason I'm speaking now is just to confirm, you know, Don's testimony and say, and let people know that there is documentation in the record on Mattermost about what happened. It's fact-based and, by a firsthand, knowledge. And let's see, what else do I want to say here? There, continuing on what happened with the bank is honest response to this whole mess, and the way that she's interacted with people and with me personally is completely, similar to what others have reported here, in that she doesn't answer questions. She doesn't have evidence. She appeals to emotions and jacks things around to suit her purpose. In some ways, she actually reveals what's going on. I discovered, I realized what was happening when she wrote, one of her articles one time, and she talked about, pooling investments and making 8% and stuff. And I think that's basically what was going on, or is probably still going on. I think that, people put their funds in, and it was already mentioned before that this was a non-interest bearing, non-usury type setup, meaning that it wasn't an investment. It was not an investment. And yet Anna wrote something about, people pooling their funds to get 8%. And, Yvonne and Darla just got everybody in there and they ran their own credit union. It doesn't have anything to do with Hunter or Anna. That's completely whacked. That's completely wrong. She's spinning stories, but because she said that, I realized that that's probably what Hunter was doing. He was pulling these funds. He's if you have a couple $1 million, you can get 8% if you put something in a long-term money market or CD or something like that. So that's what I think he did. And that's why I think he's not returning the funds, because he'd have to pull it out, lose the take that he was scamming off the top, and I believe sharing with Anna and Harold. So again, just reference back the reports that were, put in the Mattermost publicly. I have those PDFs. If anybody, is not on Mattermost and wants those reports, they can be made available. Yeah. Stay clear. Stay clear of both of them.
Yvonne,
Yes.
I think were you talking about Kaivi?
Yes.
Kaivi got, he was with Hunter, I believe, something like 10 years ago. And Kaivi was in charge of his father's retirement money.
Yes.
And gave that to Hunter for safekeeping and to let that build up. Now, Kaivi died last year.
This year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, recently.
This spring.
Yeah, this spring. And I was wondering if you knew if anybody was a beneficiary for that money.
Well, I don't know. I mean, certainly in the bank records, beneficiaries were indicated. I did enjoy a visit with Kaivi and his mother in person when I happened to be traveling in the area where they were living. And so, if anybody, it would be his mom, That's what I think.
Might be something to look into, unfortunately, but it would be a strike against Hunter.
Well, you don't need to look too far to find those.
That's for sure. Anyway,
Okay.
Just me too.
I don't hear anything. Are people still on or?
Floyd, I think you're muted.
Oh, there you go. Can you hear me now? Okay, sorry about that. I'm over here asking questions and nobody's paying attention to me. I know, Brian, you said your mom was a volunteer for the bank, for Anna's Bank. Is she still with us?
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
You're talking about,
Mute one of your devices. You have two devices with the open microphone.
yeah, I know, let me, okay.
Thank you. Are you there, Brian? You're muted.
Okay. Let me turn my phone, I'm gonna turn my phone off here.
Okay,
All right, can you hear me now?
perfect.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
I can't hear anybody.
You're good and hot. We can hear you.
Uh,
We can hear you, Brian.
I'm muted here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can't hear me.
Yes, look at my head.
You can hear me.
Yes.
All right, I can't hear you for some reason.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, now I can hear you. Okay. Bottom line is, I'm in New York. There's no one here that mentioned anything about New York. Because obviously it was a small group. I was in a few years ago, around 2020, whatever, and did the paperwork and so on. And we had an issue here with a coordinator based in Western New York. I don't know if I should mention his name or not, but Todd Wheeler Keller. And it was very interesting because he couldn't communicate very well with people. And we had a number of issues. He was very negative with women and all, especially. So what happens is we had someone who was in his late 80s, a gentleman in central New York. And just to give you an idea of the type of man he is, he's in his late 80s. He's taking care of his ill wife, and he has a child, 65 years old, who has been basically a vegetable most of his life, and he's taking care of him as well. And godly man, godly Christian man. And we had meetings that we were supposed to have with this fellow Todd. He wasn't showing up. It wasn't a large group. We had less than 10 people. And but we all together said we have to do something here. And this other gentleman was stepped up to the plate when someone mentioned something. He said, "Well, I can help for a little while." And we said, "Who better off? I mean, he has background in whatever and able to coordinate things and so on." And I wrote an email to Anna von Reitz. I have it here somewhere, and I was telling her how excited we had the meeting, and we loved it. And she came back. This was in the morning, and in the afternoon, I'd never forget this. An extremely nasty, evil, talking about this man, a godly man now, okay, and saying that she was comparing him with Hitler rotten Clinton, okay. Anyway, and the Clintons, as far as being a criminal. And I'm saying to myself, where the heck is this woman coming from? Either she's on dope or something, or off the wall. I don't know what's going on here, but so from that opened my eyes about her. And then I began listening and learning about people in Texas and in California and in Michigan and other states, and it was a similar type of thing. So realizing that, I don't have to be knocked over the head too many times to realize that something's not right. So at that point, basically things began dissolving, and people that were doing something said, we can't work like this. Here's a state, almost 20 million people, and we've only got, not even 10 people. There's something wrong here. So, Can you still hear me okay? You can hear me? Okay. So anyway, that's basically it. I don't want to say too much. I got on the call because Floyd, I actually caught the very tail end of your call, that your 4-hour call you had. I just found out about it like 10 minutes before it was over. So I got on there, and you mentioned something about anyone who might have an issue with someone with monies and so on. Well, I didn't partake in any of the bank or anything like that. So I had something else related to some other people. I won't mention any further. Maybe we might have some suggestions on that later. But that's what I want to say. I just wanted to chime in because this seems to be going on all over the place, and people are waking up. And I appreciate the expose you did with Anna von Reitz and her husband and so on. I had no idea of any of those things, but you just don't know sometimes who you're really dealing with. And there's some people who, like I said, they're not going to wake up. They don't want to wake up. I figured someone like Terry Sam, would have this would have did it for her, but apparently not. So it's hard to believe. Yeah.
Everybody has a different rock bottom.
Yeah, exactly. So that's basically it. I just wanted to mention that, and let you know that it's obviously it's the same. It's the same thing all over probably. So
It is. It's exactly all over.
Right.
When I did my videos with about Anna, a lot of the various former state coordinators that she blew up, those assemblies contacted me, Arizona, Utah, California, even Hawaii, which we haven't mentioned. And when I spoke to the former coordinator in Hawaii, they had all the indigenous native Hawaiians, from the royal family, all in. They were ready to stand up, because they're overrun by the the Asians, the Japanese in Hawaii, and they wanted their country back, and they were ready to take it. If any of y'all are familiar with the history of Hawaii, of course, we colonized it, came in, took it over. But same thing happened out there, and it's just a repetitive thing that she does. And sadly, none of the assemblies are ever going to stand up. The bank is obviously a fraud, a fake. And hopefully that this video, this Zoom meeting, and everybody's testimony here will prevent somebody else from being harmed. Now, let's take this a step further. Most of you are familiar with the Telegram group that I have set up, Nationals for Truth. I have one that's just for news, and then I have another one that's just for Communication Hub. I created that just for you guys. Okay. It was originally supposed to be exactly what it is for us to reconnect that have been, extricated and decided we want to step away from Anna's assembly, to commingle and communicate and build another functionable society. What you guys don't know, although I was appointed justice or elected justice here in Texas, I am currently the Chief Appellate Justice for the County of Califia, California. I created the entire judicial structure, as well as the law enforcement structure, the jail, and the penal system. Other people have designed other things for this county. This county is 48,000 acres in Riverside County, California. If you go to Riverside and you draw a big oval, kind of like the Daytona Speedway, all the way down around Lake Matthews and back up around to Riverside, that's pretty much what she owns. She's had a land patent on it since 2010. I did the public notice myself on my YouTube channel. I am a notary, so I did the affidavit of publication and sent it to her. Governor Newsom's office in California was notified that we were trying to take over California and that they should watch this video. Apparently they didn't watch the video, but they called Madeline Tiggle, the land patent owner, and asked her what she was trying to do, take over California. So Madeline asked her, "Have you watched the video?" And she said, "No." She said, "Well, go watch the video and call me back." Now, mind you, only 9 people in the world have Madeline's number, and they managed to call her. That's how they made her come out of the private and go into the public to do this county, if that tells you anything. She's been private for a decade. So she got all this established. Registered with the California DMV for license plates, County of Califia license plates. I've already designed them. The first two plates, the handicap and the regular plate, have been produced and have been sent to Madeline to put on the car. Treaties with, I think the number's up in the 20s or 30s now, different countries and tribes, recognized by the Department of State. She was just informed by an official in the federal government to establish her embassy, get it up and go get a building, get it up and running, and establish a bank. I have another individual who already has a private bank. They're looking for a brick and mortar building. I'm fixing to marry those two as soon as I get off this Zoom. That's my next Zoom. So I'm very busy. I'm affiliated with that. And what I'm trying to emulate is to take what she's doing, because she's not doing it for fame, infamy, because most of you've never heard of her, never heard of what the heck's going on over there. Because it's not for her. This is not even for her children who are in high school going into college age. It's for their children. Okay, this is a community of like-minded, intelligent people who are on the path to sovereignty, freedom, and intellectual, spiritual freedom, where the children will get that education, that real, true private education that the elite get, that we don't get because we get the public education, institutionalism, dumbed down and programmed. And it all starts with our parents immediately at the hospital at our birth, birth, into the United States citizenship. So that's a whole nother topic. But what we're here on is AVR, Anna von Reitz, and the current banking situation. All I can say is everybody who has a somebody's trying to jump on the Zoom. They think Bob's going to be on here talking, and I wish he was. So there's a lot of misnomers about Anna and her motives, but everybody here clearly knows now the real Anna von Reitz, the real Federation, what the states' assemblies look like. They're never going to stand up. There's never going to be a bank. There's never going to be a debit card. And I think we're just going to find more and more people left on a trail of carcasses where they have been just sucked dry by the Anna von Reitz cult. Anybody else have anything they would like to add to this conversation? Any testimony? I know a few people have, fallen off, and it is, we're going on over 2.5 hours, going into 3, which is lengthy. I wasn't expecting to go this long. But if you're not in the Telegram group, let me go get that link, and I'll put it in the chat so all you guys can join it. We can stay in communique. You can share this, have other people join this Telegram. And we can all work together. That way we don't have to double work. Eric Dingus, like I said, he traveled all over the country talking to the Secret Service, FBI, sheriffs, police chiefs. I'd call him out of the blue and he'd be in, BFE somewhere, dealing with some noble cause for some assembly member. But hopefully his connection has a little fire, a little motivation still inside of him to pursue Anna, and we can all get together and create something, even put together a civil RICO. I told you guys that I will help you with that as much as possible. If you need a template, I can point you in the right direction to my cases that are filed in Travis County, Austin, Texas. And I can put you to the right one. I just got to go to the clerk's record and look it up. They don't have them online. You have to go there physically to inventory the archives to get them because of the age. But I have some in there that are just, perfect template for what you want to do to file a civil RICO. Yeah, really clean. I got really good after, wrote the 6th one. But does anybody have anything else to add? I'll digress.
I'm eager to see those.
Oh, okay. Yeah. They're very well done. When you read them, you're like, oh man, how come you didn't win this? That bad. They weren't going to let me win anything, sadly. That's when my experience of the de facto corruption in the state of Texas corporation. You know, of course, I have the Dun and Bradstreet background business report that all the judiciary courts in the state of Texas are for-profit corporations. Absolutely. So there's no doubt about it. But I want to thank everybody for coming on. I want to thank everybody for sharing their experience. If you'd like a recording of this, I'll post it in the Telegram room and you can download it, share it with anybody and everybody. Put this out there, share it, because people need to know this, especially people that are in the RV. They need to watch this video, because if they run into Anna von Reitz or somebody that's associated with any one of the assemblies that's, you know, drunk on the Kool-Aid, says, hey, come over here, this is where you need to put your money. You know, we don't want to hear about the lottery winners, you know, who are washed up on the side of the road or in prison or dead or penniless, because that's not what it's all about. It's all about humanitarian projects. So it's not very humanitarian to send them to straight to a scam artist, a con person. So I hope we put together enough information, giving you enough evidence to change your mind, or at least dissuade you from having an association with Anna von Reitz if you're currently involved with her assemblies. My advice to you is to leave immediately, void your contracts, your memberships, whatever. You do not need Anna von Reitz. You don't need that assembly. Do you need the people that are in that assembly? Yes, those are good people. They mean well. They have a good heart. They're trying to go the right direction. But I promise you, take my word for it, okay? If you want to tell you this, you know, I do it on the Bible. Here's the Bible. There it is. I put my right hand on it when I talk to you folks, because that's why I'm here. God is making me do this. I'm not doing it because this is what I want to do at 9 o'clock on a Thursday night. I would rather be at the gym right now, to be honest with you, because I'm a gym rat. That's my sanctuary. That's where I go to de-stress and refocus. But I'm not there, and I'm dealing with this. But Anna is on my radar. I'm appalled at what she's done and what she continues to do, and that people are still incorporated with Anna von Reitz and her whole assembly mess. I'm ready to close this out if everybody else is. I think we've covered everything. Beat the horse where there is no more carcass left to beat. Anybody wants to add anything, please do before we end. Let me caveat with this. You can always reach me at the Fearless Floyd Show at yahoo.com. fearlessfloydshow.com is my website. I'm on every social media platform you can shake a stick at. If somebody's on my website and I'm promoting them, I've vetted them. They're the real deal. I'm associated with some great people. I can pretty much call any guru I want, anybody, social media influencer on my phone. If I don't have their direct number, I can call somebody who can call them. So I can move, I can shake. I am an influencer. It's not something that, you know, I'm trying to do to gain more subscribers or viewers or likes or shares or whatever. I'm not into that. I'm going to be here again tomorrow at noon doing my show, talking about whatever the topic is that I want to talk about that day. And then I'm going to be back on Monday and I'm going to be doing the same thing, and nobody's going to stop me. I don't care who they are. And I'm going to continue to fight the good fight for the little guy and the underdog, and especially the women gender who, you know, are getting treated real badly. So I'm an underdog for all those. You know, I'm really blessed and thankful and grateful that I have a wonderful daughter who should be just, you know, unruly, batshit crazy, in prison, prostitute, drug addict, all of that, just like Anna's daughter. And she's not. She's getting her PhD. So I want to give accolades to that. Thank you for doing that for me. Very impressed with her. She's a remarkable woman. Anybody else have anything to add before I close out? Thank you, everybody, for being here. Sadly, some of the Seeds of Wisdom team couldn't be here. Salty did make it. Thank you, Salty, for being here. Thank you for hearing my pleas. I hope this information you can pass along to the other Seeds of Wisdom team members. and that'll open their eyes and they can share it with their members in their different Telegram groups, or it can be posted on the website, however you want to do it. I'm uploading this to my platforms. It'll be all over my platforms because it is my mission in life to take Anabon rights down. If I have to do it personally, individually, alone, or with a team, I'm more than willing to do it. And, I've been trying to do it for years. So this is nothing new for me, not a new subject matter. As you can see, I've been in contact steadily with the same people that I was originally in contact with in 2020 in the Texas State Assembly. Eric and I still talk. Kim, we meet regularly every 2 weeks, like they stated. When they're in town, we go have lunch together. So I try to keep it community. I have an open invitation to you, Salty, to take you to lunch on me or dinner, whatever that looks like, so I can introduce myself personally to her. Hopefully I'm accepted into the Seeds of Wisdom community as, one of the truth tellers, one of the truth seekers. And with that, I will close out this meeting. Again, thank you everybody for being here. I really do appreciate it. Thank you. And log on to the Telegram, keep in communication there. And everybody have a good night, safe weekend. And again, thank you for being here.
And you also. Thank you, Floyd.
You're more than welcome.
Good night. Thank you.
Yes.
Good night.
Hey.